It's December 10th, 2022. I figured I could probably finish this page pretty quickly. We'll see. I have the majority of my artwork finished and scanned from 2022. I still have some stuff from 2021 that I need to finish also, and 2020 that I forgot about until like right before I was going to Thailand. I have this picture of Sauerporn riding a unicycle, like topless, like between a bunch of Victorian conservative weirdos who are reacting to her. In the middle of winter, and there's a lighthouse behind her. I never finished that one. I started drawing that in April of 2020, when the world was crashing. And right now I hear On the Beach by Cliff Martinez on my iPod. That's from the Drive soundtrack, which is one of my favorite movies, and that soundtrack is amazing. Not just like the 80s tribute new wave synth pop songs, which are all like really cool, but also Cliff Martinez's score is really cool. I watch this director's films just for Cliff Martinez, to be honest. There's also, I think, a track by Riz Ortolani on here. He was the guy who did the score for Cannibal Holocaust, that family film. Yeah. I think that's a cool soundtrack too, especially Savage Right. It's my favorite song from the Cannibal Holocaust soundtrack. So after I get these all scanned, there's only 3 pages that I can scan right now. I want to make some food, and I'm going to watch a Korean movie. The picture up here is a reference to a song. It's the Dreamtime mix of The Lebanon by the Human League. I drew it on October 20th, 2022, which is 16 years after I first heard that song on someone's blogspot. I think their blogspot was just called Dreamtime or something. Did a mix of that song by the Human League and Dazzle by Susie and the Banshees, and I liked both of their mixes. The Human League track is like extended to be like 9 minutes long, and I don't know, it's just really cool. It also just reminds you of late October 2006. Kind of nostalgic. I was with my first girlfriend in that moment, and she was working with her lab partners in the computer lab, and I was like sitting right next to her, just checking out some music stuff, and that's when I found this blog somehow and heard this song, the Dreamtime mix of the Lebanon, and then she finished her work stuff, and we went for a walk around the campus of the Illinois State University. And I took some pictures because it's my favorite time of the year. I don't think about that time period very much. It's just that the song's up there. And I do miss winter and autumn a lot. Because the only season they have here in Cambodia is just hot. Like all of the time. But if you're going to live abroad, you got to give up something comfortable. Now I hear What's Happening by Jasmine Minks. This is from the indie scene compilations, which were 80s new wave and post-punk and synth-pop and experimental bands. Some label released a series called the Indie Scene, and it was just all the late 70s throughout the 80s stuff in the UK. So you'd hear stuff like Virgin Prunes and Cabaret Voltaire, Southern Death Call and Early New Order, 1,000 Mexicans and New Model Army, Depeche Mode, Shriekback, The Cult, later on, All About Eve, Sonic Youth, even, which is kind of interesting because Sonic Youth isn't from the UK, I don't think, but they were still in there. Maybe when they got to the mid-80s, they decided to broaden it. I don't know. Oh, I got a message. Now I hear Arnold Lane by Pink Floyd. This is back when Syd Barrett was the leader of the band. I think this song is about a real guy named Arnold Lane who got caught stealing women's underwear from clothing lines in the UK. That's the story that I know, at least. Now I hear the Peel Session version of The Tenant by Play Dead from the John Peel Show. I was just explaining post-punk to someone when Twitch was off, when my Huawei phone had died. Trying to explain like the history very briefly and what the style is. I was using Moya by Southern Death Cult as the example. I always love Play Dead style, which is like the bass is very low and it's carrying on in its own way and the guitar is not following it. Usually Steve Green from Play Dead is making just sort of like a structured kind of ambient noise with the guitar. I thought that sounded really cool. I think he's extremely underrated. I think the band itself is extremely underrated. Do 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 do. I wish I could just play the music on the stream, but oh well. The tenant, he waits. Seductively, he's torn apart. I've never sang around other people before, so I have no idea if I'm a shitty singer. I assume I must be a shitty singer, though. Most people who are full of confidence in regards to their singing are seem to be terrible. I'm kind of being facetious, though. I mean, I don't think I can hold a note, but I can only hear it in my through my ears. I don't know how it sounds objectively to other human beings around me. But usually, I listen to a lot of the music I listen to. I don't know the lyrics often. I know the kind of the meaning of the song, but I won't know the exact words. And there's also a ton of foreign music I listen to, music that's not in English, in languages I don't understand, like Japanese. Like a lot of Japanese early 80s synth pop, for example, or some of the hardcore punk from Japan. And then there are a bunch of metal bands like Fear Factory, where I don't necessarily know what the hell Burton C. Bell is singing or screaming, depending on what part of the song it is, and it doesn't matter to me because it's a good song. But if I like a song enough, I will look up the lyrics. But I've always been a music first person. Most lyrics to me don't really touch me or anything anyway. Though I think this song by Play Dead is about insanity. I think it's inspired by the 1976, I think it's 76, the movie by creepy piece of shit Roman Polanski. I like the movie a lot. It's too bad he's a creepy piece of shit. Another creepy dumbass pieces of shit defended him when he got caught fucking a 13-year-old. Or raping a 13-year-old, I guess. Now I hear the speech by Agent Smith from The Matrix that he gives to Morpheus about how the human race is a virus. I found that somewhere and decided I'll throw that into my iPod. I like the way that actor says this stuff. It's like interesting, and the music. I like the eerie music that is, of course, not on the soundtrack. For some reason, like, little eerie musical cues don't make it onto most soundtracks, and I always find that frustrating. I'll download an entire soundtrack, and then the one part that I like the most is the part that is omitted for no reason. I don't know why they do that, why so many companies make releases like that are incomplete. And then it'll have, like, the complete deluxe edition on the cover, and it's not. Like, another example is 2010, the year we made contact. Like, I like a lot of the music that plays outside of the spaceship in the final quarter of the film, like actually, or maybe throughout the entire film when they're in space around Jupiter. Now I hear From Past to Present by Jeremy Soule from Skyrim. Like, every time there's a shot of the Discovery and the Leonov and the sequel to 2001, like outside of the space vehicles, you hear this really eerie, echoey, calming music, and I was hoping that there'd be like just a solid 4-minute track of just that on the deluxe, quote unquote, the deluxe edition, but it wasn't. I'm just like, what the hell? They play that like over and over again throughout the entire second half of the fucking movie. Like, as soon as the monolith appears, that music is just there all the time. Every time we're outside of any space vehicle, almost all the time, and it's just not in the soundtrack. I'm just like, what the fuck? That was like the coolest sounding thing. I don't think Manhunt ever had an official soundtrack release. The one for the Xbox back in, I think, early 2004, late 2003. I didn't get that game until July 2006, and when I played it on my 360, I fucking fell in love with it and the soundtrack. But I didn't finish the game for some reason. Probably because I was starting to like date my first girlfriend and kind of forgot about the game, and I helped some of my friends move. And I was doing a ton of black and white photography, and got Dead Rising like a month later, and that pretty much took up all my gaming time for like a couple months. now I hear Lost by Gary Newman. I think Splinter might be my favorite Gary Newman album. There's only one song that I tend to skip, and I don't hate it. I think it's Where We Can Never Be. That's the one song that, like, I think I can pass on. Even though I don't hate it. But it's still a solid album all the way through. Even that song, like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just my least favorite one. I remember listening to this a little bit after it came out. It came out mid-October of 2013. I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan with my second girlfriend at the time. And I downloaded a torrent of it because I couldn't afford CDs at the time. Though with Gary Newman, I do, like, with anything, if I like an album enough, I will buy a physical copy if it's, like, a reasonable price. And I eventually got a physical copy of this CD, like a digipack version of it, a few months later. But I remember saving the entire album until, like, the end of October 2013 and playing it, like, as soon as we had our first snow day in 2013. A day with snow, as in winter 2013, October 2013. Like, the very first snow in my hometown was October 22nd of 2013. My friend Marion had just given me her MacBook, and I remember she dropped me off at McDonald's so that I could install shit and use their internet, and the very first thing I put onto the MacBook was this album, because it was on my phone, the entire, like, all the MP3s. And I remember sitting there, it was, like, already after dark by the time she had picked me up, my friend Marion, and she dropped me off at the McDonald's, because as I was sitting there using it, I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, my now ex, and I looked up and there was snow coming down. I could just see it passing through the lights of the parking lot. I just thought, that's really cool. I went home and had some hot chocolate, like, really late that night. Greeted my mom. I was living with my mom at the time. And then, yeah, I don't know, I also miss my mom's house. Before Cambodia, I lived on my own, like, multiple times, but, it was always just more logical to stay at my mom's house, because I would save money instead of just wasting on rent. I mean, the first time I lived on my own, though, was, like the first time I moved out of my mom's house was when I was 21. And then a couple years later, I had this and hated it, and God, I hated Indianapolis. But yeah, that was Lost by Gary Newman. Now another song's about to start. If It Makes You Happy by Sheryl Crow. This would have been like around November of 2000 when I, like, sat there and listened to my mom's cassette tape of this entire album. I had to respond to a message there. I'm gonna color her Blancmang shirt. It was September 14th, 2006 when I first heard that band, but I found a Winmore package of good quality MP3s, like 192 bit rate MP3s of their Heaven Knows Greatest Hits CD, which starts off with Blind Vision, and I remember listening to that and loving Blind Vision and a lot of the other songs on there. And because I'm like introspective in regards to my music, every year I'll like draw a few things that remind me of dates that are important musically. Man, I need to send someone a video of Wolf Moon by Type O Negative. Oh, don't play it on the stream. Now I hear Monkey by Bush. I think this song is about someone who gets like sucked into a shitty death cult. This album and Razorblade Suitcase are two of my favorite grunge alternative rock albums of the 90s. Up there with In Utero and Bleach, up there with Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown, Mellow Gold and Mutations by Beck, and Yield by Pearl Jam, Dirt by Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots' first two albums. The 90s were just so full of good music. I came into I always liked a lot of music, but I didn't start caring about all the artists and trying to learn about them until I was 11 years old, when I got my first radio, and it had a cassette recorder thing built into it so I could record songs off the radio, but I didn't get any cassette tapes until a couple months later. I started collecting music and really taking it seriously and getting into it in that strange time period when grunge wasn't really the mainstream thing anymore. It was like that post-grunge, pre-nu metal era where anything went. When the average pop song would be something like cool and bizarre, like Scatman John or Kiss from a Rose by Seal. And the things that were going on at the time were there was still grunge, but there was alternative and then post-grunge and shitty pop punk, shitty ska punk. There was industrial metal, then industrial synth pop rock, like Econoline Crush. There was just a lot of stuff going on at the time. Like in rock, there's so much happening. I need to make a list. Eleven 11 styles. Now I hear Say When by Lena Lovick, which is from, I think, her first album from 1977 or 78. I didn't know shit about Lena Lovick until my friend Rick found her. It was like late October 2011. A few weeks before Skyrim was released. It was also like the warmest winter of my entire fucking life, in America at least. Like it snowed like 3 times that whole winter. Like it was so shitty. Like I was looking forward to winter for so long, and then there was no winter. It was so odd. I hear something by Frank Zappa. What is this? Rudy. Oh yeah, Rudy Wants to Buy Yiz a Drink by Frank Zappa. I think this is from his first album that he made in the 70s. It's from the same time period, like mid-October 2011. Now I hear Bury Me Deep by the Sisters of Mercy. If my phone loses all power, then I'm just gonna call it a night for the Twitch streams. I'll do another one tomorrow, I think. Or the video streams, I should say, because I mean I import these, I export them to YouTube. See, what time was it when I drew this? Okay, I know what time it was now. Now I hear Tomorrow Not Today by End of Green. It's a German goth metal band that was inspired by Type O Negative, but they're more on like the colder, depressing side. I mean, they refer to themselves as depressed subcore. That's their genre. But I remember hearing them on Halloween of 2002, downloading an MP3 of their cover of Black Number One, because they were part of this tribute album, this German metal tribute album to Type O Negative. So a bunch of, obviously German bands, mostly German, were covering various Type O Negative songs, and some of the covers were actually kind of cool. Very different takes on Type O Negative, and this is before like all the bands started popping up that were just like, I don't know what to call them. Like, they are sort of Type O Negative tributes, like October Noir, bands like that. And it's before bands like that started popping up. I don't have a problem with October Noir. I don't think there's anything like philosophically or morally wrong with what they do, and I do like a couple of their songs, but I don't really listen to them very much. I mean, I listen to a bunch of their stuff, but that's different from wanting to listen to it again. They're okay for what they are, and I think it's cool that they're out there doing what they want to do, and they seem pretty successful and happy about it. And they did a really cool cover of Lips Like Sugar by, what was that, Echo and the Bunnymen? Yeah. There you go, friendly guy with his wine glass, enjoying whatever the fuck he is. yeah, I watched a movie last night, or at least I started it, but I got too sleepy because I just got really tired. It had nothing to do with the movie, but it was a pretty funny movie. I watched the rest of it this morning, called Christmas, Bloody Christmas. It's just like insane but amusing, kind of grindhousey, killer robot Santa film. I liked it a lot, and I also liked the two main characters who were like debating like which Soundgarden was like the best Soundgarden album, or which Hellraiser was the best. Weird shit like that. I don't have like a favorite Soundgarden album. I do tend to listen to Super Unknown and Bad Motorfinger back to back, like the most. And then like a random collection of like their 80s songs, like Flower. Flower is one of my favorite Soundgarden songs. Nothing to Say, Hands All Over, Gun, Loud Love, I Awake. I think these are really cool songs. And Down on the Upside is a good album too. But I always like drift around Super Unknown, and well, I usually drift around Super Unknown and Bad Motorfinger. And I like their 2012 album, King Animal, from 10 years ago. Can't believe it's 10 years old now. And I didn't get that album until 2015, so it just feels weird. And it sucks that like Chris Cornell like walked off stage and just killed himself like back in 2017. Oh, now I hear Departure by Petri Alanko. Like, I was pretty excited, like, the idea that there was going to be another Soundgarden album coming, and my favorite one from the 2012 album was, my favorite song from that was, 1,000 Days. I think 1,000 Days Before. I remember listening to that in November 2015. I think my mom's favorite one was Tari. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, he just walks off stage and is dead within like a half hour. Like he seemed like he was enthusiastic and enjoying the show. Like, who knows though? That was a really big downer back in 2017. I mean, still a downer. Because Soundgarden was always one of my favorite bands. Like, even when I was like a kid. I mean, I heard Black Hole Sun a million times, like everyone else back in 1994, 1995, and I loved it. And then I finally sat down and listened to the entire Super Unknown album and loved every song on it. The only song that I can skip is Spoon Man, and I don't think it's a bad song. I'm glad it's on there because it's such a unique and odd song, and a lot of people love it. Like, a lot of people list that as like their favorite song. Like, people I knew in high school, for example, and I see people talking about it on the YouTube video, the comment section. Like, this is their favorite song, but that was always my least favorite song from Super Unknown. But maybe my favorite Soundgarden song, I don't know, it could be Head Down. Like, that is such a great song to space out to. Like, it's dreamy, it's atmospheric, it's depressing. Now I hear, Lifeboard by 2000 Plus. Now I hear First Transformation by John Corigliano. This is from the Altered States soundtrack. We were seeing this movie, I think, around October of 2001 on the Sci-Fi Channel, and just thinking it was fucking weird, and loving the musical score. It took me 10 years to get to track down like anything of the score. I'm not sure if I should color her skirt black or not. Now I hear Jerry Goldsmith's Derelict from Alien. I remember in late November 2006, I managed to get this MP3s of this Spanish 2-disc bootleg version of the Alien score. And disc 2 included a bunch of deleted stuff, like the rejected recordings. Like there was like 2 other recordings of the jockey theme when Dallas Lambert and Kane are in the derelict spacecraft. That was pretty cool. It's always been one of my favorite musical scores. I remember like listening or watching the movie just for the score when I was a little kid, just because the soundtrack was creepy. And I finally got it, I think around November 27th of 2006. through this carrot and apple having a problem down here. Now I hear In Praise of Bacchus by Hyponuda. She hates me. This sends me straight back to Christmas Day of 2000, when I was at my dad's house with my brothers Day and AJ, and I hope this phone will last until I hope the phone will stay on until I finish the skirt. We'll see, I guess. But when I heard this album, I loved everything about it. I was like, holy shit, like, this is like its own genre. And I just blasted it over and over again. And my brothers liked it too. But I fucking loved it. And I would listen to this, and we would play GoldenEye on the N64 and watch horror movies, and I was there for 8 days straight, and that was really cool. I kind of associate this album and this song with the Severnaya level. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I might have said this before in a live stream, but the song popped up, so that's the story around it. This song and a lot of the songs on the album remind me of that Severnaya level in GoldenEye, specifically the one with the red sky. I remember in that time period also I was trying to write like a comic, a book about write and draw a book about Newt from Aliens. It was supposed to take place before the Marines and Ripley showed up. Like, it starts with the invasion of LV-426 by the xenomorphs and the facehuggers and all that. And it was supposed to depict how she becomes isolated and how she's like the only survivor eventually. And the deaths of her brother and her mother and all that. And also, I had a lot of like, I like putting creepy, dumb characters into my comics, so there was this like corrupt security officer who was like just not helping at all and just making things worse. He was specifically like a pedophile who was like hitting on Newt, but he dies a horrible death because he's a pedophile. I always had like black humor and satire like kind of in the comic, but I mean I was 15 when I wrote it, so it's not very good. I don't even know if I'm a good writer now. I mean, I like what I write now, but yeah, I worked on that for a couple months. I did 2 versions of it. Like I started it in November of 2000, like on November 14th. And back then, instead of drawing human characters in my comics, I would draw like these anthropomorphic lizard people. I was more comfortable with that because I didn't think my human characters looked good. I thought they looked too cartoony and shitty, and I felt more confidence drawing the animal humanoid characters because I didn't have to make them look realistic. If I draw a human, I try to make them look more realistic, unless they're just a flat-out cartoon. Like a hideous monstrosity piece of human garbage or whatever, but I drew dozens and dozens of pages of that version. Then in January 2001, I decided, you know what? Let's just start drawing a human version. And that was when I was transitioning like to just drawing human characters. But I was still drawing a lot of Sonic comics too, so it wasn't all just people. But if I were drawing a comic about random people that had nothing to do with like Sally Acorn or whatever, or some other animal character I made for the Sonic comics when I was a teenager, my shitty Sonic comics, I started using humans instead, like around 15 and 16. And my comics were only for myself. I just wanted to draw all the time. Like, I didn't think this stuff was good enough to publish or anything. I just had fun doing it. It was like a nice thing to do. I'd listen to Type O Negative and Nirvana and Black Sabbath or Soundgarden or whatever, Tool and White Zombie, and just I don't know, just doodle that out. These old Sonic comics. The comics are usually like making fun of Sonic. Also, I always like when I first started caring about making my art good. I immediately, for some reason, ditched Sonic in favor of Sally and spent a lot of time mocking Sonic. Like the dumb guy who gets praised because they have this inherent superpower, but they have a shitty character, they're selfish and dumb. So I don't know, I liked making him into a piece of shit, and as I kept getting older, I kept making him into a worse person. Then eventually I just started making my own original comics, my own original characters. In the first phase, like one of the steps of that was like just taking animal people and making comics that weren't about, Sonic characters or whatever. I started doing that a lot when I was like 13. But then when I was 14, I didn't like my art. I didn't like how it looked. I thought it looked sloppy and kind of stiff and ugly. And I looked back at my old stuff from years earlier that had more fluidity and just looked better, less sloppy, and that just happened to be Sonic stuff. So by looking back at that old art, I also got more interested in the Sonic stuff again when I was 14. Except I made like darker comics. Now I hear Memento Silence by Killslug. I first heard this band on November 1st, 2006. It was their first, it was this punk blog. I have the name somewhere written down in some document on my hard drive or on my computer, but because I saved the page and I still have like that page saved, but for some reason. But they had their first two 7 inches on there, not their demos, but the one with Warlocks, Witches, and Demons, and then the one with Autopsy performing, which are 2 of my favorite songs by Killslug. Actually, the song that's playing now is my least favorite of the 6 tracks from those first 2 releases. I like I Hate the World and Necktie Party a lot. And in September 2008, I downloaded a copy of their first and only full-length album, Answer the Call, and I really liked Red Devil a lot. There's a bunch of songs in there that are really good. Make It Rain, for example. I heard that one in December 2006. I think someone posted on like some random MySpace page, and I downloaded the MP3 of it. That was when MySpace made all the music shitty. Because in spring 2006, you could, if a band wanted to, they would let you download MP3s of their songs. Like, it was up to that band. Like, so if it's your MySpace, you can choose to give away your MP3s for free. But then, like, around September or late August of 2006, for some reason, MySpace made this really dumb move where if you wanted to download a song or even listen to a song, it would be at, like, low quality, like below 96 kilobytes a second, like, and it would sound muffled and really shitty, and even just streaming the song, it would sound like shit. And like a bunch of people were like, why did MySpace do this? All these bands that are trying to get people to look at their music, where MySpace is the best way they can advertise, now their music sounds like fucking shit. This is stupid. I want to ride my bike. Now I hear Bicycle Races by Queen.